Hola, estudiantes. There's my necklace making noise. I'm here today to talk about to review the rules for positive and negative commands. Today we're specifically going to talk about positive to commands, and then I will review the notes for the usted and ustedes command. For positive to commands, there are two ways to think of it. One way is to take the to form of the present tense and to drop the s. So if we start with a verb like comer, our to form is comes, and then when we drop our s, our command becomes come. The other way, which I think is easier, is just to go straight to the LA usted form of the verb, which gets you to come as well. So a reminder of regular present tense endings. We've been using the subjunctive for a while, so it's going to be your idea to put the opposite ending on. But remember, for positive to commands, that we use our regular AR, ER, and IR verb endings. As far as pronouns go, just a quick review of pronouns. Our direct object pronouns answer the question who or what, and end up being lo, la, los, or las. Our indirect object pronouns are to whom or for whom, and me, te, le, nos, os, les happen to be our indirect object pronouns. We also have reflexive pronouns. When we have a verb like ducharse, we know that that se translates into these different options. So reflexives can come in three types, and we can use the RID rule for them. If we have a reflexive pronoun, it's always going to come first. If we have an indirect object pronoun, it comes second. And if we have a direct object pronoun, it comes third. Now, it is possible to have two different types. So it's possible to have a reflexive and an indirect, for instance, or a reflexive and a direct, but not anything that I can think of where you would use all three at the same time. So reflexive is the R in RID, indirect is the I, and direct is the D. So here are some examples. We say, no se la compres and dímelo. This comes from our chapter 2 where we talked about direct and indirect object pronouns. As far as rules for pronouns, when we have a positive command, that means a command where we're telling somebody to do something, we attach the pronoun. So, come la, for example. I count back my 3 vowels and I add in my accent. It says if you add something to the end, you must attach the DOP or reflexive pronoun at the end and count back 3 vowels to add the accent. Now you try it. Here are some examples. Take a moment and write these in. Make sure that you replace the direct object pronoun. Here are the answers. So check your work. Make sure that you replace the DOP with the correct DOP. Here are irregulars. We say ven, diso, has, ten, ve, ponce. These tell you what the verbs are that they come from. Remember that these are for positive commands. Negative to commands have no irregulars. Here are some examples with the irregulars. We tell you here that for venir and salir that those two things are not a DOP, so you cannot replace them. Here are the answers with the irregulars. Notice that there are not any that have 3 vowels in them, so there were no accents needed. Notice that for these, I didn't replace that because they're not DOPs. For negative commands, we start with the present tense yo form. We're using the subjunctive. We drop the O and we add our opposite ending. Remember that they're going to end in either ES or AS because we're talking about 2 verbs. Remember that the pronouns get sandwiched between the no and the command. Here are some examples. The pronouns are in red for you. Now you try it. So you take these and you make these negative. Here are the examples. We have no la hagas, no la digas, no la tengas, no la pongas, and no vengas más cerca. Notice that here I didn't replace these things because they are not DOPs. Notice that in here the pronouns are sandwiched. And then to end, we're going to talk about usted and ustedes commands. So the rules for both positive and negative commands are the same. We start with the present tense yo form of the verb, drop the O, and we add the opposite endings. For an usted, it's going to end in E or A. For ustedes, it's going to end in EN or AN. Then we do any pronouns that we need to. This should say reflexive, indirect, or direct. If it's negative, we are going to sandwich them. So keep that in mind as well. That's just a review of those usted and ustedes commands. Use your notes. Make sure that you look first to see if it's positive or negative and that you follow the rules when you do the activity in Moodle. Buena suerte!